So in today's video, a viewer was interested in me doing Hornet's Needle from, what was it, Hollow Knight SilkSong, I believe. Yeah, Hollow Knight SilkSong, the sequel to Hollow Knight. So I've just opened up Blender, haven't done anything yet. We got our camera and we got our light, both of which we are not going to use. So I'm going to go from left click on that and then shift left click to get this one, and we're also not going to need the cube, I don't believe, so we're just going to delete all of that. I'm going to go here and hit y-axis, so we got that, and then I'm going to pull up our reference image. I only bothered getting one, but it should do. This item isn't terribly complex, so I'm going to navigate over there. Hollow Knight, Hornet's Needle, there we go. Alright, so there she is, and this is what we're going to try to create today. So, the handle's really long. I'm gonna, for the handle, I'm just gonna use a piece of PVC pipe. I think a 3/4 piece will do nicely here, and it'll be thread all the way through, not all the way through the blade. I don't think the thickness will allow for that. We'll switch over from the PVC to maybe a steel rod or something. But I think the first thing we're going to make is the loop over here. So I'm going to hit Shift A to bring, well, actually, the first thing I want to do is go over here to Scene, hit Units, and then switch lengths to millimeters. And I'm going to say, difficult to say, that's like 4 inches wide, maybe? We'll see. So first thing, I'm going to go over here, Shift A, and then up here to Mesh, and then we're going to use a torus, which will be this donut shape here. But I'm going to add some things to it. This actually isn't that bad. Let's go, actually, let's delete that, start over again with our Shift A, then torus. I want to add some dimensions to it because it looks a little flat right here. So let's double these quantities here. I could actually just hit asterisk 2 and multiply them by 2. That gives us a lot more to play around with. So when we print it, it doesn't look terribly angular. I guess we could add more. It's maybe 36. Let's just do 120. Should be plenty rounded enough, I think. And let's go ahead and put Horn's reference back with G and Y after I grabbed it with left click, so we can see things a bit better. And this size isn't bad. I clicked on the torus here, R for rotate, and then along the X axis, so hit X, and just put it at 90 degrees, because we're going to go straight up and down with this. So I'm grabbing it with G and then hitting Z to move it along the Z axis. And let's actually see how wide that is. Let's grab the central points here when in X-ray mode, then vertices mode with 1, and we brought up our circle with C, and shift clicked on those to get rid of them, and then we're going to hit F just to create this measurement here. And I'm going to go up to this arrow, hit edge length so we can see how wide that is. Now that's 2,500, 2,500. So I'm going to see how much 4 inches to millimeters, and it's 101.6. So that's going to need to scale down considerably. So let's go down, and I just hit A for all and then S for scale. Then I'm just dragging in with my mouse until we get to 106. Because I think 4 inches, what was it, 101.6. 101, let's just do 102, not that big a deal. And we'll turn off edge links, and this is more the scale we're looking for. I think. Let's bring this one down with left click G to grab and then along the Z axis. You know what? Actually, let's bring our torus up. Oop, I just hit it with H, so Control Z to undo that. Grab with G, Z axis, and then we'll just bring it up. And then we will scale this down with S, and then roll it in with the mouse. Get a little more reasonable to control here. Let's see. Hit period to zoom in on the item that we've identified. We can actually bring her back in with G and then Y for the Y axis, and then we just brought it. So let's see. So I'm thinking we just knife project a hole in here for my pipe, and that'll probably be that. Let me check my ruler for just a second to see if 4 inches is good. I actually think 5 inches might be better for this. So I'm going to switch over here, see how much 5 inches is, and that's 127 millimeters. So let's scale this guy back up. So in object mode, I hit tab to go into edit mode, and we're in lines mode right now, or edge mode right now. We'll turn edge links back on, so we can get this back up to 127 millimeters. So that way this ring is going to be 5 inches wide. So that should be alright. Okay, now I'm going to try to put a hole in it for the handle. Let me see what hole size we need. We need 27.2 millimeters for the pipe. So on our 3D axis, I'm going to Shift A. And I'm going to go here to mesh and then circle. And then we're going to need, what was it again? 27.2. 27.2. And since this is a radius, we're going to divide by 2. And so we have this circle. Let's see if this is even wide enough for that. It is not, unfortunately. Now we could just widen this, or we can scale it up to fit, and we'll still need a generous fit. I guess, you know what, we should also scale these portions as well. So with both of them selected, I'm going to hit Control A, and then I'll go to scale. That way both of them are on the same scale. And let's see where this one is now. I'm going to click the opposite ends, hit F, 27.2, so that's exactly where that needs to be. Let's get edge links out of there, and I guess we can just scale it up until it fits. Makes me a bit nervous to do that, because I don't want this to be too big that it's not appropriately sized, but at the same time we need it to be at least that wide for this piece of pipe. So this way it does indeed fit in there, and it does give us a little bit of leeway. I'm going to turn I'm going to turn snap on, and then go to active and then vertex as my standard, and I'm going to put this in the middle just to see where we're at here with G and then Z. And that doesn't give us a lot of room, but it doesn't really need to be load bearing. So I'm going to put this up here with G and then Z. And since these are already their own parts, how wide is this? And how wide is this now? 157. Let's see how wide that is. 157, 6.2, about 6.2 inches, which is a bit bigger than I wanted, but I think we're just going to have to live with that. So, alright. Let's go ahead and get rid of this edge, and then with this selected in edit mode, we're going to control left click on that so it's red, and we're going to get this orientation just above it, then we're going to do a knife project right down into it. So we basically transferred this circle shape onto our torus, and so we got that going on. And what I'm going to do from here is use E to extrude and go straight down with Z. Hit Z twice to go straight down. And then we're going to flatten this out by hitting scale, S for scale, Z for the Z axis, and then numpad 0. And we're going to flatten that right out. Let's bring it down to about... So when we 3D print it, we don't want it to poke out of there, so we want to give it at least a little room. See how far off these two are. Hit F between those vertices, and I want to check out these edge links. That's not too bad. They at least have 1 millimeter of room. Not a ton, but not too bad. And we'll fit the pipe in there and maybe glue, maybe even screw in there. I think glue will be alright, because it doesn't have to bear too much of a load. I do have some stretchy string that I'll use for this thread, but on that I think it should be fine. Alright, with that we can use this circle actually. I'm going to right click and then set origin to geometry just to get the origin back in there. And now we can work on the blade. So for this, I kind of want to make it angular, kind of like old cartoony anime swords, but also somewhat rounded at the edges, because I don't like those to be too sharp. So in order to do that, I think I'm gonna, in edit mode over here, I'm gonna go ahead and hit shift. Actually, you know what? No edit mode. Let's start our own another object here. So I'm going to shift A, then I'm going to make a plane, and we're going to shrink this guy down. Oh, we're actually going up. Shrink it down. Then I'm going to rotate, hit hard to rotate, and then Z, and then rotate it by 45 degrees. And then we're going to shrink these inward. So I'm going to go up here to transform vivid point, median point. It's already selected. So I'm going to bring these in a bit. And it seems like it's about as wide as the ring. So with all of this selected, go to Z orientation so we can see it from above. Maybe do like this. So it's about as thick or as wide at the widest. Do I like that? I feel like it's slightly wider. And I also intend to round those edges off as well, somewhat like this. So in vertices mode, I'm left clicking on that one, shift left clicking on this one, and then right click, and then bevel. And then I'll roll up on the mouse to give it more bevel points. Just to make it a little rounder, let's get rid of edge links so you can see that better. So it's a bit rounded. I think this is what I'm going to go for the general shape of it. Yeah, I think so. Alright, so the blade will be done in a couple of different pieces. I guess we should do the bottom part first. So I'm going to shift D to duplicate this bit. Actually, you know what? Let's knife project into this because we're going to need that. So with this one clicked onto, I'm going to hit tab. Then actually let's grab this guy first with a control click, control left click. Then we'll go back up, hit mesh, knife project, cut a nice hole in there. I actually want those edges to be directly across. I think that'll work for us better. And I got C to get the circle select, and I'm just left click dragging to collect all these, and I'm going to hit F to make that into a face, and I'm going to hit Alt left click to select this side, hit C for circle selector again, get these guys, hit F, and then we're going to go over here to face mode in 3X, and then get rid of that face. Okay, so this will, and then we're going to duplicate. Shift D when we select the whole thing, hit A to hit all, and then we hit Shift D to make the same thing again. So this will be the bottom, this will start the blade. So we're not going to be able to 3D print the whole blade in one go, unfortunately. So, okay. Next we're going to take this, all these, this outer ring here, then we're going to hit E to extrude and drag it down along the Z axis, hitting Z, and let's go ahead and shrink this a bit. So, and I'm thinking maybe bevel that, because I wonder if it's going to be terribly comfortable to hold. Let me just see what that looks like. Take those points and bevel them. And it doesn't look terrible. I just don't want you to have to hold those points, because these are going to be somewhat sharp edges. Somewhat sharp. Well, let's go ahead and bring this guy down as well. I'm going to hit, with all those selected, hitting E to extrude, and then G to bring it down, and we'll snap it down over here. I think we'll just keep going down. Let's bring this guy down a bit with G, Z. Then we'll... Wait, this has a bit of a curve to it. Just a bit. So you know what we'll do? We'll scale this in just about as far as it will go. Hit S to scale, and then I'm going to scale along the X-axis only, so I hit S and then X, and then zoomed it in, scaled it down here. I still kind of want that to be rounded, so it's a bit more comfy. Undoed and redid. I think this is going to be a bit too close. So we'll hit Control Z to undo, and then scale it down again. Not as much this time, and then scale along the X once more. So we have something like this. And then we'll take all these, drag it down a bit more. Like so. Then I'm going to go into edge mode and then select all these central edges here. I actually don't need these, just the outer ones. So I hit C and then Shift and dragged it across there. And then we'll subdivide here. And then to get that curve, we'll scale in just a bit. So, and then we'll bevel. And drag that out. Like that. Now we have a very subtle curve. Okay, now this I still want to bevel, because I don't like the sharpness of those edges. Oh, we never connected this face, did we? Yeah. So let's go ahead and make this into faces. We're going to collect those two, F in vertices mode, left click and then shift left click, F. And then we're going to collect all of these on this side. And hit F to put that into a face, and then Alt left click, face, and now we're going to collect these edges on the outer side. I think that's all of them. Then we're going to right click and bevel. Don't need this much beveling. I still kind of want to round this out a bit, but I don't want to do it for all of them. Maybe about a halfway point? Look like we missed. Yeah, so I don't want these. Let me go back to X-ray mode, make sure we're not clicking on anything we don't want. Let's get these edges. Got X-ray mode, so I'm going through and getting all these on both sides. We don't need these, so C, shift, hold shift, and just left click and cross over those. Now I'm thinking bevel these. I don't know if I like that. What if we took it all the way up here? I'm holding shift and left clicking. Oop, don't want that. And let's bevel here. So we don't take away the point that we want our blade to have, but we also, where our hands are going to be, we don't have to deal with these sharp points, which is the goal with that one there. And you know what? I think we'll slide this up with holding shift V. Now we can slide along this edge and we'll bring it all the way up. Almost all the way up to there. Let's see how much is left. Over with edge links, 3.51. So we'll do the same thing over here. Again, hold with that vertice selected, shift V, and then all the way up to 3.51. I'm holding shift to get a more exact measurement. 3.51, that's plenty close enough. Alright, and I think that'll do for our base. Our handle will be the pipe, so that's alright. And now we'll move on to the blade. Let's go ahead and separate these. So I clicked on this one, and then anyone up here, and then hit L to select everything attached to that one. I'm going to hit P and go to selection, and now it's its own object. So these two are independent from each other. We can flatten this guy. Let's set origin to geometry. Right click, set origin to geometry. We'll flatten that right on top. So that's where we're continuing on from. And now we'll just take it up to a point. Let's see. Going to extrude. And then GZ, and then I'm thinking we just scale it all the way down to a central point. I'm going to create that central point by selecting these two and hit F to get an edge between them. And then I'm going to click on that edge in edge mode, that's 2, and right click, subdivide, so now we have this vertice. And now I'm just going to merge everything with that vertice. So I'm going to grab this one. Now let's turn on auto merge. And let's also go into options. 0.01 for the threshold, so it has to be right on top of it. Boop, boop. And we'll just move all of these onto here. I'm hitting G to grab and then just dragging, and with auto snap, it's snapping right to the vertice in the very center, and we'll just merge them all here. That'll make the next step pretty simple. Okay, now we all come to our point, and actually, I don't think I want such a sharp point. This is cosplay prop, we don't want it to be too dangerous, so if you did, that would be how I would do it. I'm going to control Z to undo all of that, and we're going to make a bit more rounded point. I think that'll be fine. And we're just going to take all of those, and let's see how long we want this to be. I mean, That doesn't look too bad, I guess. Hit period so we can zoom in on here. Then I'll go to 2 for edge mode. I'm going to try to bevel this. These are really close together now. Okay, we gotta get rid of that. So let's go into view. What did I do? Head over here in this menu, I went down to view. Make sure that's open, and then clip start, I'm going to put 0.1. So now we can zoom in without that just merging on us over and over. Okay, how wide is this? Let's see, about 1. That's really, really, really tiny. But I guess that works. It's not a super sharp point, but it is a rather sharp point. So I'm going to gather all these, right click, and then I'm going to smooth the vertices out. See if I like that. I don't like that. That is way too smooth. I mean, way too small. So I'm going to Control Z to undo. I think I'm going to scale this upward a bit. Let's get how wide that is. 3 millimeters. It's the very tip of this weapon here. So I'm going to gather all those, negate this, and then bevel these edges. I guess we have to... I mean, this is going to be so small. Let's see how wide you are. 7 millimeters. Oh. I mean, it honestly shouldn't matter. If you did want a point, we could do it the first way, but I think we're just going to keep it like that. I want to bevel it, but I don't want to ruin it too much. Don't want to narrow these points so much. Bevel. Don't let them cross. That's about as much as we're going to get. That should be fine. So with everything selected, with that selected, I'm going to hit A to select everything, and then I'm going to hit Shift, hold Shift, and hit N to recalculate the normals. It's just a good thing to do when you start seeing some discolorations. And let me think, how long is this going to be exactly? 1,293. Okay, 1,293 millimeters to inches, 50 inches. So that's pretty long. How long do we want it to be? Because this is slightly less tall than she is. So maybe the whole thing could be 6 feet? Maybe? Ring included? So let's see. If we were to do that, let's see what 6 feet... 6 feet 2 millimeters is 1,828. So let's drag this guy down a bit, and then we will get the bottommost vertice, which is that one, and then we will stretch this up with E to 1,000. I can't see it. 1,000. What was it? 828. 828. So we'll say the handle is maybe 3 feet, and then the blade will be the rest of the 3 feet. So let's subdivide this. See where that is. So that'll be where the handle stops. Let's go ahead and put that on screen. So that'll be, zoom in, get this ring here. I'm trying to get this ring. Let's turn X-ray mode off. And Shift D to duplicate. Then I'm going to hit P and selection. Turn that ring into its own object. Then we're going to take that and go to wherever it was subdivided there. And then on extrude and go down here. Just to give us the look of what we're doing. Because that'll be our pipe, and that'll be threaded all the way through this blade. But just to get us an idea of where we are, we're about here-ish. And where is it? There it is. So our blade is a bit long. You know what? Let's undo this beveling up here since we are going to take it down a bit. So I'm going to alt-click on this edge loop. And that's it all the way around. Then I'm right-click, delete, get rid of that. Then I'm going to hit one of these and hit L to get everything connected to it and just delete that. And in X-ray mode, let's pull this down to wherever that edge is. I'm going to hit G, Z, and there. That doesn't look entirely right. I feel like the handle needs to be shorter and the blade needs to be longer. So instead of halfway point, let's set it to maybe 2.5 feet. That's 2.5 feet to millimeters. 2.5, 762. 760. Oh, that would be if it's all the way down here, which it is currently not. So let's go. Oh, can't see anything. Zooming in. Still can't see anything. Zooming in further. That's GZ to grab that top edge loop or snapped. Let's turn off that. And 700 and what was it? 762. GZ. We're dragging down 762 millimeters. So that should make the handle 2.5 feet. And we'll bring this down here with GZ again. And let's drag this up to this top point here. So that way it's still about 6 feet tall. Turn snap back on. GZ, snapped it to that. And that looks a bit more like what we want in terms of scale. Is it a bit wide? It might be a bit wide. Let's... Do I want to go through all that? Not really. It might just be because she's kind of holding it at an angle. It's like a giant kunai. This might be the shape. This might be what we're doing. Let's just shrink this handle back up here, just for the look. I think that'll do, actually. Alright. Well, let's just finish this up then. We'll take this circle here. We'll hit E to extrude, and we'll take it as high as it can go before it really starts clipping. Let's go to the X angle. Yeah, it's already starting to get a little close to those edges. Let's see how much room we have here. Extruding along the Y-axis, and we got about 3 millimeters, which isn't much room to work with. So once it gets up here, we're probably going to use a steel rod to make it the rest of the way, just to give the PLA some support there. And I'm thinking the steel rod will be like right next to it and go all the way up as far as it can go. Maybe on both sides or just one. We could put one in the center, but I kind of want one at least on the side so it can help keep these parts from trying to twist. Since the pipe is cylindrical and smooth, it'll relieve some of the stress off the glue that ends up holding most of this together. So let's figure out how we're gonna put the steel rod through. That'll be the next thing to consider. Okay, so with that's the very edge one there. Alright, and with that we're gonna go out maybe 5 millimeters or so. Maybe a little more. F3, cursor to active. And then these circles are going to have to be, I'm going to use some 1/8 inch steel rods for reinforcement. So this is going to be 3.7 millimeters. So Shift A, circle, 3.7 divided by 2, since this is the radius. And that'll be the size for our steel rod reinforcement. And I want it to be a little further out. I selected all that, GX to move along the x-axis, moved out there. And how far is this? And at this point, you know, we could mirror this. I think that's what we'll do. So instead of playing around with two sides, I'm going to hit how about this one? This one's easier to manage. And we'll go to up here to selection, and then we'll hit side of active, and then we'll go along the Y. Wait. Why isn't it selecting? Huh. That should be selecting everything on one side. Positive, negative axis. That's what I was expecting. Wait. Side of what? We're selecting this one. That seemed kind of wonky. I'm gonna create a new vertice at the very center of this by selecting these two and hitting F to create this edge, and then I'm gonna subdivide it so we have a point directly in the center. I'm gonna hit select, side of active. Why is this diagonal? That's not how that should be. I guess I hit local instead of global there. Weird. Alright, let's go on X, and then we'll hit negative, so I want this side, and then I'm going to hit select, invert, and then I'll right click, delete, so that deleted half what we're working on here. And then I'm going to go over here to modifiers and object mode, add modifier, generate, mirror. And then we're gonna, why is this acting so weird? I guess the rotation's off. Go with, okay, before we do this, I'm gonna hit Control A and then rotation. See if that helps. Generate, mirror. That did it. I don't know why those rotations were off, but oh well, now that we're mirroring, we have the other side without having to actually do anything. So let us be a little lazier. So we're going to get rid of edge links for now. And we're going to extrude this all the way up. as high as we can get before we start clipping out or getting too close to these edges. So I'd like as much reinforcement as we can get. Then we might just go ahead and put one in the middle, starting up here-ish. That might be what we end up doing. G, Z to bring it down a bit. We have here. And then we will Control G, Shift D to duplicate, and then G, and then move along the X-axis. And we'll just take half of this. Oop. Hit period to zoom back in on what we had, and I think this is about half. Right click, delete. And then we'll put this dead on in the center. Since we have one of these at the very end selected, I'll go ahead and GX. So we move along the X-axis and snap to one of these up here. That way it is dead center. And then the mirror version, we can see just barely, is doing its thing over there. And let's get off merge. So it's a nice circle. And then this ends here. So this will actually come down here. And actually don't want those to be a thing. Those will not be joined. I thought for a moment we could just bridge edge loops, but I don't actually think that's a good idea. So this will start here and then go on, hitting E to extrude and then Z to move along the X-axis. And that'll go all the way to the tip, basically. I don't want it too close to clipping through the wall, otherwise those walls will be really weak. We don't want our props to break. And that should actually do it for the support. We'll just have a steel rod here, and then these two. If we're doing this, we really don't need the other steel rod. It's almost wasteful to have it, and I don't think it'll unbalance the item too much. So you know what? Now that we have those, we'll go ahead and apply our mirror modifier. And then we'll go ahead and get rid of this one. Actually, those selected, right click, delete. And go down here. And we'll go ahead and get rid of this face. Well, or not. We get rid of this face, because now we gotta add this guy in there. And we just made that edge, so we can select this edge. We gotta deselect all these guys. Here, F. Wait, we can get this one. Control Z. And let's get these guys, and now we make our face with F. Now we got all those. F again. And now we should have our two faces with our hole going through. Alright, those should go all the way to up. Okay, back on X-ray mode. Now, since this is going to be printed with the wider side down, we're going to split this in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a face here. And then on face mode, we're going to select it, right click, and then poke face. Then we're going to turn this into a bit of a cone. So most 3D printers can print at least 45-degree angles. So we're going to increase this beyond 45 degrees. So that'll be about here. Could go further, it doesn't matter. But just so it didn't want to print support inside this area, because that can be annoying to dig out. And we're going to do the same thing with our big circle here. It seems like some of these need to merge, so I'm going to hit A, go up to Mesh, Clean Up, Merge by Distance, but I'm going to go with 0.0, oh, it was already on 0.1, that should be fine, 0.01. And that should clean that up a bit. Now we're going to take this circle, go with Alt left click, hit F for face, and then we're going to hit 3 to go on faces mode. And then we're going to click on that face, right click, poke face, then back in vertices with 1. We're going to grab that and drag it up along the Z axis, like so, and just make another cone. And this will be printed on this face, so this can just be a face. I just hit F with those selected, and then we'll also do the cone thing up here. Hit F to fill in the face, go into faces mode, click on face, right click, poke face, pick the very center vertice, and then drag that up with G, Z to at least a 45-degree angle. And that should be that. And did I remember to bevel these? I did not. So let's go ahead and close this face up now that we have the size that we're looking for. And then we will right click with those in edge mode, and then we'll just give that just a bit of a bevel. Just because I don't like sharp corners, edges, and points. They can be dangerous. So I'll go ahead and name these. Let's say guard. It's not, but it's basically where the cross guard would be, and then this will be the blade, and then this will be the pommel, or the pommel ring. Just so we know, and this piece will be a piece of pipe that we're not going to print, so we don't worry about that. Okay, I think that's about everything. Now we're going to slice it into pieces, printable pieces. You're not clipping, right? Yeah, we did put some space. Not a lot of space, but I think it'll be enough. We'll definitely need one cut here. How long is this? It seems kind of long. We won't have to, but let's just see. We will now let's take this one of these vertices, doesn't matter, extrude outward a bit along the x-axis. I'll drag that a bit further, and then we'll go the entire length of our prop here. Now my printers can handle, my smaller ones handle 265 millimeters along the z-axis. So let's see how many times we'll have to divide this guy. So up here, this arrow, we're going to add the edge links again. So this will be like almost 5 pieces if we do it at maximum. So I'm going to go ahead and take this edge, right click, and then subdivide 5, just to see what that's going to look like. And then in vertices mode, I'm going to take our vertices along the edge, hit E to extrude, and see where those lines are going to be about. And we'll also be able to see about how long these are. I'm going to go ahead and hide with H our reference image, just so we can see these numbers a bit more clearly. 166 isn't that bad. As the higher you go, the higher the chance, especially as you get narrow, the higher the chance that your print will try to break off the print bed. So we don't want to go maximum length with something this narrow. Down here on the base it'd be fine because we have a lot more area for the prop to hold onto the print bed. But as we get narrow, it's going to get a little iffy. And I think 166 should be okay. And I'm liking where these divisions are going to happen. They don't look too bad. I'm not seeing anywhere it'll be a problem at any point. So I think this is what we'll do. We will take these edges, what we'll use to cut, and then we will shift D, and we'll drag them out in front of it, hit P, separate them. And now we're gonna get rid of these edges. Don't really need this anymore. Actually, just click this one, delete vertex, then click this one, hit L, and then right click delete again. And these are already separated, so we'll get this one, and then we'll go tab edit mode for that, and then we'll control left click on this guy. And now we'll use our mesh, knife project, and this time cut through. And that should put lines all the way through our prop here. That does seem to have done the trick. Things are looking okay. Let me hide this. And now we'll separate these into those pieces. So we're going to take, in vertices mode, we're going to take all these, and then we're going to shift D to duplicate, then we're going to hit P, and then selection, and then that'll be blade, let's just label it as 1. Blade 1, and then we will do the same for these. Shift D, P, selection, then we'll call you blade 2. Right, not screwing that up, am I? No, it's blade 1, 2, and you shall be named blade 3. Shift D, P, selection, and blade 3. And I'm not going to delete the original one, because just in case I screw up, I can always go back to that, at least to that step. And then Shift D, P, selection, blade 4. My keyboard is on an uneven surface, so you're hearing that banging around a lot. Let's Shift D, P, selection. You shall be blade 5. And then your tip. Oop. Selection. And you're just 6, the very tip. And then we'll take the main blade, hide it with H. And now we have to fill in those faces. So let's make sure I hit this one first. Did I give you faces? And I guess we should put that steel rod through here too. So let's go back and get blade 1. And this is the whole one, right? No, this is the cutter. Blade, cutter. This is the whole one, right? Yeah, so I'm going to call that OG. That's the OG blade there. Hide, hide. Alright. And now I want to put the steel rod all the way through here. So that support, that stability it offers, will go all through it. So let's select the circle in there. Shift D to duplicate, P to separate. Let's hide that for now. And then we'll click on the circle we just made, and then shift click on the guard portion. And then we'll hit hold control and then J to join those two into a single item. And now we gotta get rid of this face. Let's get rid of X-ray mode. Face. And we will put that on here. F versus those two, F again. And let's select these up here, like so. Deselect, I hit C to get our circle select, and I'm holding shift and then left clicking. Holding left click to get rid of all these, and then F, and shift, and alt left click, and then alt shift left click to get all these. F again. Put those faces up, and let's get this circle. And then we will extrude with E down along the Z-axis to, and here it's just fine. And we'll close that with F, and then we'll go into face mode with 3. And clicking on that, right click on that face, poke face, and then we'll go down to anything over a 45-degree angle. So that way the support goes all the way through. And that should be just fine for that one. Okay, guard, blade 1. Let's get you back out here. And now we're going to put the faces on. This one already has its face. This one does not, however. And we're gonna have to do this quite a few times. Is there any easier way to do that? Not that I know of. Let's do this side first, and we'll go X-ray mode. Then we'll click on all these. F. We'll do this, circle select. Try to do this a little faster. F. Now you got your face. Let's select the whole thing and Shift N, recalculate those normals. I should do that with everything, really. Before I forget, A, Shift N, recalculate those normals. And what recalculating normals does, it tells Blender which direction the faces are facing, if they're facing in towards the object or outside of the object. So you'll see sometimes if it's confused, it'll change the colors around a bit. Yeah, and that can really screw up your prints if they're not facing the right way, or the right way to a degree that Blender can understand what you want. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. We don't need that guy anymore. Or this guy. So we just have our circle, nothing else is there. Good. And we already Shift N, that's fine. Yeah, alright. Alright, next, blade 2. And this one I don't think has either. Yep. So, wonder if we can do select side of active Y. Can that create a face? No, it's not going to be that easy. Not going to be that easy. That's okay. And we'll select all of these, give that a face, and then, just select all of these like this, and then deselect these, and make that into a face. Yeah, that did okay. Alright, and then put that, and then we'll do similar on this orientation. We'll grab all these up to the center, F to fill that face in, and then along X, try to get all the way up to everything to the middle-ish. Doesn't really matter. Deselect the side we already did. F. Then select all these with Alt left click and then face again. And let's go ahead and recalculate normals just in case. And blade 3. Same operation. This side first. Yep. And then this side. There. Deselecting these. Face. Face. Now this part. So left click drag. F on the X orientation. All these. Deselect those with C and then Shift. Holding Shift, left click, and then F. Then Alt click, and F. And then let's recalculate the normals. And then go up to 4. And exact same thing. These, F. On the X. These. Deselect those. F. Alt left click and F again. And oh my. Almost through, almost through. Okay, finally some change. Okay, selecting all on that side. Oop, period. F. And then we'll do this similar. Selecting all these on one side. F. Oh, oh yeah. Gotta deselect these guys over here. F. Nope, still not doing what I want. Let's see. Okay. Let's create these edges manually. Then try that again. And deselect these. I think that'll do it, yeah. And all those, F. Now select all. Recalculate those normals. Hide. Next. And same operation. Cross. F. I gotta recalculate. Make these manually. It's fine. Just like that. Selecting all these. And deselecting those. I think we got all the ones we want. F. And this is just this one. Alright, easy one. Half. Oop. Another face. Hide, select all, recalculating normals. And then 6. The last one. Select all this half, F. Alt left click, F. And that should do it. With all that selected, Shift N one more time, and that should be it. Blade, and that should be printable. Just printing one of these pieces at a time. Alright, we'll get these printed and see how that looks. So after printing Needle, I discovered that the very tip is a lot sharper than I thought it would be. So I'm going to go ahead and bevel this down. And just to show you how I'm going to do that, I'm going to take all these edges here. We're in edge mode with 2, and then I'm going to hit right click, subdivide. And we're going to take this edge loop here, and just alt left clicked on that, the one that we just created through our subdivide. Now I'm going to hit Shift V and drag that carefully all the way up. I think just a little above our support, about there. I think we could do without any of this up here. So I'm just going to, after left dragging over those vertices, I'm going to right click and hit delete. And then I'm going to make a face over here with F with those selected. And now we're going to bevel this down. Actually, we'll go down considerably like that. And then we're going to, in vertices mode, which is 1, we're going to go ahead and set smooth vertices. And we'll do a couple of iterations of that. Hopefully this will work itself out. It's not. Alright. Control Z to undo. Then we'll just do a little bit of beveling here just before it starts kicking in like that. And then we'll go into vertices mode and smooth this out a bit. It's a few too many iterations. Let's get rid of edge links. Still not liking how that's turning out. So I'm going to control undo, and then we're going to subdivide this area again. Subdivide. We're going to drag this edge loop up again with Shift V. It doesn't look like it got all of them. Shift V, Shift V, try to get all of them up here. There we go. And now from here we'll try to smooth them out again. Maybe we should shrink this one a bit. Let's get this inner edge loop here, the topmost, and then we'll do something like that. That way the others have kind of a guide to use with this bottom one and this top one. So we'll take those and then we'll right click and then smooth the vertices out. They're still kind of acting up here. Let's try recalculating our normals, see if that helps. And then I'm going to manually drag this down a bit. We might have to go manual for the whole thing. Smooth that out. I don't know why it's trying to go inside the object like that. Alright, fine. Just do it myself. I'll just drag these down just to give them some separation, because I really don't like to have that point there. It's not only super fragile, but also kind of dangerous. So we'll do our best to even this look out a bit. This is actually a really small section, so I don't think too many discrepancies will even show. I don't know why it wants to do that. Maybe get rid of Z. No. And that might be okay. I'm going to bring this up a little bit and scale it inward. Give it a little more roundness. That one too. And that looks alright. It's a bit more rounded. And that's what I wanted. Alright, that'll do it, I think. And here is the result. This prop came out huge, but also quite durable and shockingly light at 3.5 pounds. If you managed to get this far, I do appreciate you very much and hope you learned something that might help you in your own modeling endeavors. If you'd like to support the channel, do remember to like and subscribe. And a special thanks to M. John Simon, our recent Hero of the Channel winner, who scored this Godwin Branks pattern bolt pistol for free in our monthly ready-made drawing. This is over on my Patreon, where fan tier is much appreciated. Supporter tier gains access to the STL files and instructions to build my continuously growing number of props. Then Hero tier and above not only get supporter benefits, but get their name in the monthly drawing for free props. If you're still with me, I do appreciate you being here. Hope you got some use out of the video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Till then, I have been Ken over here at Kenjutsu Bring It to Life, and I am out.